Well, good morning again, everybody. Chaplain Joe back at you here again. Today I want to continue talking about what we talked about last week, talking about what does faith produce, or what does patience produce. And I want to read to you again James chapter 1, verse 4, but I want to read it to you from the Amplified Bible, and it reads this. It says, "Consider it fully joyful, my brethren, whenever you are enveloped in or encounter trials of any sort or fall into various temptations. Be assured and understand that the trial is proving of your faith brings out endurance, which is where we get patience from, and steadfastness and patience." Now, there's a couple things that we can glean from that. He says, rejoice when you fall into trials and temptations, or when you fall into different things that happen, because when you go into those things, it brings forth patience. And we talked about last week, godly patience is the ability to be steadfast, or the ability to remain the same when basically everything is chaotic and challenging around you. And it says, rejoice when you fall into those trials. Now that's very key, because as a believer, we can always rejoice. The Bible says as a believer that the joy of the Lord is our strength. But unfortunately, unbelievers do not have that joy. So at best, unbelievers, all they can really be is be happy. But unfortunately, happiness comes from the root word happenstance. So we can be happy only when things are good. The problem is when things are bad, we lose our happiness, and then we can fall into all this different sadness or anger or whatever. So as believers, though, we don't just walk in happiness. We also walk in joy, because we have the joy of the Lord, which is something unbelievers don't have. So not only can we be happy as believers, but we can also have joy. We can also have the peace that passes all understanding, because we have the peace of God also that unbelievers don't have as well. The other thing I want you to understand is faith really isn't faith unless it's tested. I've been telling people that for years, and it's so true. In order for your faith to grow, you have to be proven in the faith that you already have. It's just like a muscle. Your biceps will never get bigger if you never work those muscles with weights. So if you want to grow bigger in something, it has to be proved. It has to be tested. You have to exercise the faith muscles, if you will, in order to grow. So faith really isn't faith until it's tested. Now, once faith is tested, the Bible says it brings forth patience, which again is that steadfastness, that endurance when everything is chaotic around us. Now, why is that important? Because when something really bad happens, people may come up to you and say, how did you do it? How did you survive? How did you keep on keeping on in the midst of all these trials? And we could say, yes, it was by God's grace, of course, but it's also because the more we mature in God, the more our patience endures, and therefore we have this steadfast resolve even in the midst of problems and chaos. So yes, it's by the grace of God, but as we continue to go through things, we also are maturing, and it helps us keep on keeping on. So the very thing that might have broken somebody else, we keep on strong because we have that patience and endurance that comes from the God. So this is something we need. We may not like it, but trials and stuff going through things is stuff that we need so we can grow in Him. Until next time, God bless.